Hello everyone, it's Joe Jeffrey Jr. Welcome back to Huffman's House of Horrors! And today, I'll be reviewing a movie. Well, this film isn't exactly scary. It's it's something I really wanted to review for the longest time. And being in a franchise that involves some monsters, I thought I could review Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. Now, I know the franchise itself is more playfully scary than over the top horrifying, but still, I just thought I should include this film because of all the monsters that are in it. Because it's Monsters Unleashed. Yeah, Mystery Incorporated, the one of the most recent Scooby Doo series that ran from 2010 to 2013 was kind of dark. Well, it was dark as a good show can get. And I thought, and I kind of wanted to review that, but it wasn't worthy. I didn't really see much of it. I only seen about a handful of episodes. But anyways, this film was very good, actually. I'll never complain about the quality of this film. And in this video, I'll be 100% serious unless I say otherwise. Now, this film doesn't have a really good track record. I mean, it's only got 5.1 out of 10 on IMDb, and 30%, about 20 something percent on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's just like the first Scooby Doo film, and they both have bad street records. And recently, I watched through several movies from my childhood, like Thomas and the Magic Railroad from Thomas and Friends, one of my favorite childhood shows. Yeah, that was good times. The Tom and Jerry movie, the Tom and Jerry film from 1992, the Fred trilogy. Yeah, those were pretty bad. The Hannah Montana movie, and the live action Scooby Doo movies. Yeah. And during these films, I was like, I liked this as a kid, especially with the Fred trilogy. Oh my god, that was awful. But with Scooby Doo 2, I thought it was amazing. But I'll explain why in a minute. But first, I'll get into the plot. So, Mystery Incorporated are invited to the opening of the Coulsonian Criminology Museum in their hometown of Coolsville. There, they keep all the costumes of the monsters they've unmasked in the past. Like the Black Knight, their first case. Unless you count Chickenstein from A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, a prequel series to the franchise, which it kind of does with Chickenstein, but then again, they could have fought him first and rebrand themselves from the Scooby-Doo Detective Agency, as you recall back then, to Mystery Incorporated, and then they battled the Black Knight later. Oh man. But I won't get caught up in Scooby-Doo continuity. That's a really dangerous road to go down. Chickenstein, as I just mentioned. The 10,000 volt ghost. The skeleton man. The tar monster. And of course the dreaded pterodactyl ghost, who in this version is Dr. Jonathan Jacobo, a scientist who robbed banks across Coolsville in order to fund his monster-making scheme. But actually, in an episode in the Scooby-Doo show called Hang In There, Scooby-Doo, his real name was Johnny, an armored truck driver whose crime is bootlegging cassettes, not robbing banks. Oh, no, I just said I won't get wrapped up in Scooby-Doo continuity, but it's all I got. There, the museum is invaded by a real-life version of the pterodactyl ghost, who somehow managed to replace the fake one. And it takes the Black Knight and 10,000 volt ghost costumes, and it's perpetrated by this guy in a cloak that looks like Doctor Doom and the original PlayStation mascot fused together. There, Shaggy and Scooby failed to detain the ghost, the pterodactyl ghost, that is. And they're disgraced by by news reporter Heather Jasper Howe, and even more after she takes everything Fred says out of context by making it think that they dislike Coolsville, and it's up to Mystery Inc. to clear their names and also to stop the evil mask figure who's called that. And even an actor as evil mask figure on his IMDb page and Wikipedia page, and he was even called out in the credits and referred to by that. And they also have to fight off several monsters from they've unmasked in the past. That's all I'll say. And that's pretty much it for the plot. Spoiler alert, they actually did catch him. And they managed to turn most of the costumes back into... the monsters back in the costumes. Except for the 10,000 volt ghost and Black Knight ghost, which they kind of blew up. And the Con Candy Glob, which Shaggy and Scooby ate. And it's actually Heather as the evil mask figure. It was actually Jacobo in disguise because many thought he died 3 years prior to the film, and the Kuzolian took 2 years prior to the film to make, and it was pictured at the front of the Kuzolian, even though he died a year before production on the museum started. Yeah, pretty confusing. And the cameraman, Ned, was the evil mask guy when Heather wasn't available to do it, like when Daphne confronts her about and doing the smear campaign against them. Yeah, but let's get into the characters now. And let's start with Fred, played by Freddie Prinze Jr. And Fred's pretty good in this film. I mean, he's way more nice than in the first one where he steals every one of Velma's plans as his own. But still, Freddie Prinze Jr. at least gives a passable performance, whereas in the first one, I don't really think he tried. And it was actually his wife, Sarah Michelle Gellar, who played Daphne in these films that convinced him to do it, since he knew he couldn't live up to what Frank Welker has done, and will do. Yeah, but still, I really think he was good. And each of the gang has their own subplot, like Fred and Daphne's is trying to admit to each other. And so basically, okay, oh man, this is complicated. And Fred's scared of revealing his emotions of love to Daphne, knowing she wouldn't be ready yet. And speaking of Daphne, she's next. Daphne, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, is just as good, if not better, than the first one. I mean, in the first film, she was captured by the Luna Ghost, then then a couple other monsters. But yeah, she doesn't get captured once. At least that's a good thing. Also, Daphne's subplot is very much as like Fred's admit his feelings to her, and vice versa. But Geller does way better than the first film, and still, I really think Geller as Daphne was pretty good. Next is Velma, played by Linda Cardellini. Now, Velma in this film, she's scared of her thing, as her actress and Daphne put it, intimacy with another person. And her subplot's about her dating the museum curator, Patrick Wisely, played by Seth Green, who I'll get to in a minute or two. And she wants to be the sexy jet setter he thinks she is, but we know she can't. She's the nerd. Daphne's the hottie. Actually, Daphne and Velma in these films are kind of hot, but still. Linda Cardellini does a bit better than in the first film. Her character is now how do I put it? It's okay. I don't say that much. I mean, yeah, she's still the nerd she is, but we also get to see her sensitive side. And James Gunn, the guy that produced and written these films, said he wants to make Velma gay, but in the first film, we didn't see her date anyone. In this film, she actually does date Patrick, making her a heterosexual. I think they would just put him in just so they wouldn't think she's gay or something, as fans seem to think of her, which I don't think of her either. But still, Velma's just like Fred and Daphne. Good. Now we get to the heart of the film, Shaggy and Scooby. Played by Matthew Lillard for Shaggy and voiced by Neil Fanning for Scooby. They both have a subplot where they're trying to be more like real detectives like Fred, Daphne, and Velma, and less of their goofy selves. And they accidentally let all the monsters loose because they were messing with the control panel that brings them to life. But I think it was a Simon, an air thing. And Matthew Lillard does a really good job in this film as Shaggy, but in the first film he's not that good. It was actually teased in Looney Tunes Back in Action for 2003, which came out a year before Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed did, and Scooby Doo 2002 did it a year after Scooby Doo 2002. And when Shaggy and Scooby are complaining to Matthew Lillard about how he performed, and he's like, "What kind of performance do you call that? You made me sound like a total space cadet, man!" To which Matthew says, "I'm sorry you feel that way, but I tried to be like your character." And then Shaggy says, "If you like Huffman a sequel, I'm coming after you." And Scooby says, "And I'll give you a Scooby snack." I do really good Shaggy and Scooby impressions. But still, to me, Lillard does better. And Neil Fanning as Scooby, I didn't really like his performance in both films. I mean, I'd literally turn on the captions just to make out what he was saying. And I should have just had Frank Welker play him. I mean, he was available. But still, at the end, they learned they can only be themselves. And that's actually a good subplot. And, yeah, those rounds up the main 5 characters. And now we come to the 2 supporting characters. Patrick, played by Seth Green, and Old Man Wickles, played by the late Peter Boyle. Patrick, played by Seth Green, is kind of boring in terms of character. His performance, however, is not. And even though he wears glasses, when he was trying to interrogate someone, he didn't have them on. In fact, he could see pretty perfectly. And it was just acting like that just so he can get answers about the museum robbery. There was 2. The first one had the Black Knight and 10,000 Volcos stolen. The second had the rest of them stolen. And he did it to get answers about the costumes. But he tried to put on the tough guy act, or else they think he was just joshing them. And but still, Patrick's kind of bland. Next is Wickles. Wickles was the guy that did Black Knight. And in this film, he's trying to reform by opening a theme park in New Coolsville mining town, by making it into a summer camp for kids. And he's the chief suspect, but he wasn't. And Boyle does a good job, at least. And that's what I have to say about Wickles. Now we come to the villain, the evil masked figure, played and voiced by Scott McNeil. And to me, the evil mask figure is kind of boring. That's all I have to say about him. But the people who portrayed him, not Scott McNeil, but in like the costume. And okay, Alicia Silverstone plays Heather Jasper Howe. Also, Heather is implied to be one of the suspects since she sounds exactly like him. And her cameraman, Ned, played by Zara Peru, I think that's how you say it, did him just so Heather would be in the clear so they could do the evil act she was doing. And they're both kind of bland in terms of character, but their performances by Silverstone and Peru were great. And now we come to Tim Blake Nelson as Professor Jonathan Jacobo, who is the pterodactyl ghost, Heather Jasper Howe, and the evil mask figure all along. I thought he was pretty good. I mean, he's kind of like the stereotypical mad scientist, but Nelson gives it his own. And that's all I could ask of him. And as for the monsters that are brought to life, I thought they were pretty funny, especially with the Scully Men, where the red-eyed one always takes apart the green-eyed one and turn him into like something else. And the Scully Men are literally like skeleton men with a giant head with only one eyeball. The red-eyed one has one red eye. The green one has one green eye. And as for for the characters, I thought they were pretty good. There's the Black Knight, portrayed by Kevin Durant for the body and Bob Papenbrook for the voice. I thought it was pretty cool. And for Captain Cutler, played by an unknown person, he's for the little time he was in it, it was good. And the 10,000 Volt Ghost, played by D. Bradley Baker and Terrence Stone, I thought was pretty funny. Especially he's like, "Wait for me," and how he's literally made of electricity and he could be anywheres. He could even be in that electrical cord right there. And the pterodactyl ghost, also voiced by Baker, I thought was the most scariest. The rest were pretty cool. The Scully Men, voiced by Baker for the red-eyed one and Wally Winger for the green-eyed one, were pretty funny. They're my favorite monsters of the film. They're just so funny every moment they're on screen. You know, Gunn really did a good job writing them. And as for the Minor 49er, played and voiced by C. Ernest Harth, I thought he was pretty good. I mean, he looks pretty intimidating, more than in the original series. And he now has fire breath, and that's pretty cool. And Harth was a really good job as the Minor 49er. And he's probably the second funniest out of, besides the Scully Men. As for the Tar Monster, voiced by J. Michael Scorch, I thought he was alright. You always imagine what happened to me if I was in a tar pit for too long. Turn into a giant monster of tar. And we got some funny bits, although he's way more malicious. I mean, he literally has like these tar tentacles that would go around and cover your mouth and nose. Alright. And he's pretty intimidating. I'll say that much. As for the Con Candy Glob, also voiced by Scorch, or whatever you say his name, he was good for the brief time he was there. He only appeared for 30 seconds near the end, where he's gonna attack Shaggy and Scooby, but they eat him. It was pretty funny where he was like, "I got some candy glob." and they're like, cotton candy glob? And he's like, yes. And then they eat him. It's like, no, I'll give you cavities. That was pretty funny. The third funniest out besides Miner 49er and the Scully Men. Now, for the final monster, the zombie, I thought he was pretty good in the played by Christopher Sumpton for the body and also voiced by Baker. I really thought he was pretty funny, especially when he's like all over a news reporter when he was trying to interview him and he was laughing. And it was also a joke where like he and his small head was holding a small head, his that is, and thinking Captain Cutler's spears were gonna hit him. And of course, there's when Scooby rips his pants. And yeah, the monsters I thought were pretty good. And yeah, that's what this movie was good. And the music by David Newman was amazing. And the licensed music, like from Big Brothers, Ruben Studdard, and other music writers, they were pretty good. Especially Ruben Studdard's "Shining Star" during the end credits. Yeah, and this film is better in every way than Scooby Doo 2002 was. That film was just way too. Okay, how do I describe it? It was more like a parody of it, but way overly sexualized. And even that film, Gunn wanted to make Shaggy and Scooby tokers, Velma and Daphne lovers, and other stuff, but those were all cut out. Even the boobs and butts of the girls were removed. Thank goodness. Man, that film sucked. I mean, not like sucked, but it was at least watchable, but not as much as this film. So, Scooby Doo 2, it was good. Really good. I actually rated a 10 out of 10, actually. But still. I'll see you, next time on Huffman's House of Horrors. When I do another one of the stuff I promised. Or not like promised, but it was like part of Huffman's House of Horrors for October. So, yeah. Bye.